Each year, more and more Americans are diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. According to the Parkinson's Foundation, there are about 1 million Americans living with the illness, and that includes actor Alan Alda, who revealed his illness Tuesday. CBS News chief medical correspondent Dr. Jon LaPook explains.
I've been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease.
On CBS This Morning, Alda said he decided to go public after noticing his hand shaking.
That's good.
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Evident in this recent TV appearance. Tremors, stiffness, and slow movements are the most recognizable symptoms of the disease. Patients include actor Michael J. Fox and Reverend Jesse Jackson.
In the very beginning, to be immobilized by fear and think the worst thing has happened to you. It hasn't happened to you. You still have things you can do.
Alda has thrown himself into exercise, including boxing and tennis. Doctors say exercise is a good start.
We do think that people who exercise, especially vigorously, do better over the long haul.
Current treatments help symptoms, but don't slow down the disease itself. Now researchers are hopeful about a new approach.
There's an abnormal protein that's deposited in the brain cells that are affected in Parkinson's disease. And that abnormal protein seems to be involved in causing Parkinson's disease. And so some of the newer therapies that are being developed are aimed at trying to lower that protein in the brain. The normal brain has higher levels of dopamine, which are red and yellow.
Dr. Fagan says experimental drugs, still years away, are aimed at lowering that protein.
Some of the most promising therapies will actually alter the course of the disease and will actually start to make a difference in people's lives.
Joining me now is CBS News chief medical correspondent Dr. Jon LaPook. Jon, thanks for being here. So let's start off by talking about what exactly Parkinson's disease is. Define it for us.
It's a progressive neurological disease. It usually affects people over the age of 50, say 50 or 60, and it's characterized by a lack of a neurotransmitter called dopamine. You know, a neurotransmitter is something that lets one nerve cell talk to another. You tend to have tremors and stiffness, slow movements, and you can have all sorts of other symptoms too.
So on Tuesday on CBS This Morning, award-winning actor Alan Alda revealed that he was diagnosed with Parkinson's 3.5 years ago. Let's go ahead and listen to some of what he said.
In the very beginning, to be immobilized by fear and think the worst thing has happened to you. It hasn't happened to you. You still have things you can do.
Yeah.
I'm taking boxing lessons.
3 days a week, I read.
3 times a week.
Yeah.
I do singles tennis a couple of times a week. I march to Sousa music.
Right.
Because marching to march music is good for Parkinson's.
Jon, why, as a physician, do you think it was so important for Alan Alda to open up about his disease?
Well, I spoke to him, and he said that one of the main reasons was to try to decrease stigma that's associated with Parkinson's. I mean, he has early symptoms, and those people are often very reluctant to come public for whatever reason. So the public picture of Parkinson's is often very severe illness, very severe symptoms. And he's saying, look, I'm somebody with Parkinson's. I have early symptoms. I'm able to control it with exercise, with medication, and I think the message for people is if you have early symptoms, try to get help sooner rather than later.
So exercise, medication, that's how you control the symptoms. What other kind of treatments are on the horizon when it comes to Parkinson's?
Well, the problem is that the medications that are out there and even exercise, they may help the symptoms, but they don't stop the progression of the underlying disease. And it was kind of funny because when I spoke to him, I said, when you're doing this boxing, are you getting hit in the head? Because, you know, remember Muhammad Ali, they thought the repetitive head blows might have contributed to his Parkinson. He said, no, I do all the hitting. my coach lets me hit him. So I think, and he said, I wish I had said that on CBS This Morning, so we're saying it right now. Don't get hit in the head as part of the boxing. But there are some experimental new treatments. They're not on the market yet, but what they're looking at is there something that can stop the progression of the underlying disease? There's a protein called alpha-synuclein, which is in nerve cells, which is felt to somehow gum up the works. And that may be something where if you get rid of it or if you lower it, you may improve the symptoms. And there's also some advances in early diagnosis. So right now you're going on the basis of symptoms. There are now some brain scans where you can actually see the amount of dopamine in the brain and say, oh, it looks like it's lower than normal, and that helps make the diagnosis.
Bottom line, what do you think the takeaway is here for people who are listening to Alan Alda's story and may have someone in their own family that's been diagnosed with Parkinson's?
I think the big lesson here is talk to your doctor if you're having any of these symptoms. Don't be at home thinking, oh, I'm just I'm too afraid to even talk to anybody about it. So at the very least, talk to your doctor. You may not want to share it with everybody yet, but talk to your doctor, because the earlier you get treatment, that may mean that you get better earlier, and certainly you want to get on a program of exercise, medication, and then maybe get into one of these trials, these experimental trials, and maybe you can get better sooner rather than later.
All right, Dr. Jon LaPook, always great to have you on. Thanks so much,
Thanks,
Jon.
Elaine.